Welcome, everyone. I just listened to the beautiful 12 church bells ring from the Basilica of the Sacred Heart. It's a gorgeous day on campus, 58 degrees today. We're feeling really good about ourselves here. We're feeling blessed. Yet this weekend, looks like temperatures are going to turn. They're going to get down into the low 30s, and we might even see some light snow flurries this weekend. So we take the enjoyment here in South Bend weather-wise whenever we can. So it's good to be with all of you. Thanks for making time out of your busy schedules. I just wanted to say to you, and I don't say it enough, that all of you and the special needs of your families, and we know that many are going through much at this time, are in our prayers, and that we're sending love your way. We've got a very special program for you. A few quick updates. This is an exciting time of year on campus because we have now the football season overlapping with the start of the basketball season. And as you know, the football team's off to a great start, 8-1. We play this Saturday night at Virginia. Then we come back next weekend for our final home football game against Georgia Tech. So it'll be wonderful to wrap up a strong home season here soon. And we started with our first women's basketball game last night. We played against Ohio University, who a year ago, with virtually almost, I think, exactly the same set of players, they upset us by 1 point. And last night, a new refurbished team of the Fighting Irish came out and beat them by 36 points. So we think that that's going to augur well for a very strong season, and we're excited about that. Our men's basketball team opens up their season officially this Saturday at noon against Cal State Northridge, who I understand is supposed to be much tougher than Cal State Southridge. So that was a little bit of a stupid joke. But anyways, we're excited about kicking off what we think will be another strong season for the men's team. Our COVID rates continue to be low here on campus, and we feel blessed. More and more people, especially children now, are getting the vaccine, and makes us feel more bullish going into the winter months. We are very pleased today to welcome as our guest for the live chat, Father Bob Dowd. Father Bob is a tenured associate professor of political science here at the university, and recently in September was appointed the vice president and associate provost for interdisciplinary initiatives at Notre Dame. If he's like anything like me, he likes to gravitate to ambiguous titles because there's less accountability. University relations, interdisciplinary initiatives, but actually he's got quite a portfolio under him with interdisciplinary initiatives. He's got the DeBartolo Performing Arts Center, industry labs, the Institute for Educational Initiatives, which contains the Alliance for Catholic Education, or ACE, the Lucy Institute for Lucy Family Institute for Dad and Society, the McGrath Institute for Church Life, the Notre Dame Technology Ethics Center, the Office of Military and Veterans Affairs, all four branches of our ROTC programs, the Snipe Museum of Art, and then some. Plus, he directs and approves all of the new interdisciplinary institutes and centers that are to emerge. On top of all this, Father Bob is also a fellow and a trustee of the University of Notre Dame. And he serves very importantly as the religious superior of the Holy Cross community at Notre Dame. We're going to talk a little bit more about all of those roles. Prior to this, Father Bob served as assistant provost of internationalization in the Notre Dame International, and he oversaw the Dublin Global Gateway, the Kyle Moore Abbey Global Center, and the Sao Paulo, Brazil Global Center. He is the founder and former director of Notre Dame's Ford program in human development studies and solidarity. And he is a fellow of multiple centers and institutes throughout the Keough School for Global Affairs. In addition to his degrees from Notre Dame, Father Bob holds a PhD in political science from UCLA. So welcome, Father Bob. Let's get started with the basics. Tell everybody, if you would, a little bit about your family and where you grew up and how you found your way to Notre Dame.
Well, thanks, Lou. Thanks. First of all, it's great to be with you and great to be together with everybody else who's joining us. I just rode my bike I just finished up class actually on the other side of campus and rode my bike in here. So if I seem a little winded, it might be because of that. But it's great to be together today. I really appreciate this opportunity to be with you. Yeah, I grew up not far from here, actually, about 30 miles to the west towards Chicago in Michigan City, Indiana. And I have one sister. She's 11 months younger than me, Mary. She lives with her husband in Carmel, Indiana now, along with my mom. My mom, of course, is my hero. She was incredibly encouraging to me throughout my life and continues to be. So she was really instrumental from the very beginning, obviously. And then my dad was a 1956 graduate of Notre Dame. And my dad, of course, turned me on to Notre Dame. And he brought me over as a kid to football games when I was a little kid. I remember in the early 1970s when we had some pretty good teams coming over here and just being totally entranced. And so I've kind of had Notre Dame on the brain and in the heart for a long time. And so that's kind of, where I grew up. That's kind of how I got Notre Dame in my blood and in my heart and my mind. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I ended up being, coming here as a student, and I know we're going to get into that a bit more in just a few minutes.
I remember being with you, Father Bob, several years ago in Jinja, Uganda, when your dad took ill and you had to come back prematurely. So he passed how many years ago now?
Yeah, he passed away. That was way back in 2004. So
2004.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, that's right. We were together in Uganda, and he had a stroke. And I remember you were so incredibly kind, and I made my way back to Indiana, back to the U.S.
Well, know that our prayers are with your mom and with your family, and you're lucky to come from such great roots for sure, and not far from campus. Tell us a little bit. You said you rode your bike from class. Tell us about the class that you're teaching this semester, and how is that going?
Yeah, it's going well. It's actually, so I'm in the political science department, and the class is a senior seminar for political science majors. It's the comparative politics of immigration policy. And seminars in the political science department are capped at 16 students. So you have 16 great students in that class. And really, it's just about deepening our understanding about immigration policy and politics across different countries and different regions of the world. Today, we were actually talking a bit about Africa. But earlier in the semester, we were concentrating most of our conversations on Europe and North America. We know it's a big issue and a very hot issue, that is migration and the politics around migration. So it's been a really great semester so far. I've really enjoyed the students. Students are just spectacular and really engaged, and I'm always really impressed by our students.
Do you get nervous at all before you go to teach each class? I mean, you've been teaching for so many years, and does it become commonplace, or do you still feel an adrenaline rush for each class?
Well, there's some adrenaline, that's for sure. I think I feel a lot less nervous when I'm really well prepared. So much depends on just how well prepared we are going into the classroom. And hopefully everybody teaching here at Notre Dame is very well prepared going into the classroom. But truth be told, there are some days I'm better prepared than others. And those are the days I might be a little more nervous than I am usually.
You're human, and everybody is human, and it's true about our lives. But it is amazing that I believe this is correct, that the teacher evaluations, student teacher evaluations, are the highest that they've ever been on record. And I think our faculty is consistently very well prepared. And only those that are being promoted are not just ones that are great at research, but are really great teachers in the classroom. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's one thing that makes Notre Dame rather distinctive, is the extent to which we take teaching seriously. And I think Notre Dame isn't the only institution that takes teaching seriously, but I think it's something that makes Notre Dame unique. Not only do we do our best to be an outstanding research institution, and we've made great strides in that area, but we take teaching very seriously. And so getting tenure at Notre Dame, it's really not possible for someone to get tenure at Notre Dame unless that person has really excellent teaching evaluations from students.
So tell us a little bit about your undergraduate experience, your 4 years here back in the day. Obviously political science, but what were you passionate about in the classroom, and what were some of the extracurriculars that defined your experience, and maybe any anecdotes from those undergraduate days that stick out still today?
Yeah, well, Lou, I was here as an undergraduate. We may have overlapped. I graduated in '87, and I lived in Grace Hall with 499 other guys. It's pretty amazing to think about how each of the towers, Grace and Flanner, had 500 students.
Wow.
And so we had 1,000 undergraduate men living on that, in those two buildings. And so it's just amazing. So I lived in Grace Hall as an undergraduate. I majored in psychology and economics. I double majored. I was very much interested in in human development and psychological development, and I was thought about clinical psychology as a possible career path while I was an undergraduate. I was also very interested in social justice, and that led me to actually major in economics. That might sound strange in a way, but I guess I was always interested in the questions pertaining to poverty and inequality, and why we end up with inequality and poverty, and how might societies and governments do better with regard to economic policies that really provide, help people to make the most of opportunities. So those are kind of the issues that led me to major in psychology and economics. And while I was an undergraduate, one thing that I did, and I really enjoyed it and found it very grounding, was I volunteered at the Northern Indiana State Hospital, which used to exist just off campus. Now we have the IU Med Center just off campus in that very spot. But I used to go volunteer there to work with young people who had special needs. And so that was something that was really important to me, and something that really, I learned a lot from that experience.
When did you, was this over several years, but when did you feel a calling to the priesthood? And I'm sure that the discernment process was something that took time, but does it go back to your youth? Is it something you discovered here at Notre Dame? Was there a particular epiphany in the calling, and how did that evolve?
Yeah, well, since the time I was a little kid, I thought about being a priest. So it goes way back. My mom and my sister could testify to that I would pull out a card table and set up an altar and pretend to celebrate Mass as a little kid. And so it's something I thought about from way back, and in large part because I think the priests that I knew growing up were just such generous, kind, thoughtful people, and they seemed to really be joyful and have a lot of happiness in their lives. And so I was attracted to that. I was attracted to that way of life. I thought I could be joyful and actually be helping people. Well, I mean, what more in life could there possibly be? So that, really got me thinking about being a priest. And then, coming to Notre Dame, I met Holy Cross priests and brothers here as an undergraduate, and visited Moreau Seminary while I was here, and was really attracted to Holy Cross because I just sensed that the Holy Cross community was made up of men who really were devoted to serving others and living their lives with integrity, and cared about the kind of things that I cared about. And so I decided after I graduated to join Holy Cross. I would say it wasn't a straight line from childhood to graduating from Notre Dame and joining Holy Cross. When I hit puberty, I think I stopped thinking very seriously about priesthood when I found out the requirements, but it never went away. My desire, my sort of thinking about being a priest never really totally went away. So after graduating from Notre Dame, I decided to take the plunge and enter the seminary.
And my understanding is that you did something that not as many Holy Cross priests do from the States, is you did part of your seminary years in Kenya. And then afterwards, when you were doing research, when you were working on your PhD but after your PhD as well, you've spent a lot of time in different African countries. Where does your passion for Africa come from?
Now, that's a great question, Lou. I first went to Africa as a seminarian. I spent 1.5 years in Kenya, working with the Holy Cross community in Nairobi, living and working there. And why did I ask to go to Kenya? It's mainly because I felt the need for a challenge in my life, and I just felt this, this calling to sort of stretch myself a bit and move out of my comfort zone. Really thinking that there would be a lot to learn from doing that, and that God would would have a lot in store for me if I would just sort of, seize the opportunity to move out of my comfort zone. And so that's kind of how it came about. And during my time in Kenya as a seminarian, I became very interested in what was going on in Kenya and in Africa more generally. In Kenya, there was a movement to introduce democratic institutions. There was a pro-democracy movement. Kenya was a single-party state. And I just became really interested in the political future of Kenya and other African countries. I also became interested in the role of the church in Africa, and what role would the church play in society moving forward as countries transition from authoritarian rule to hopefully a more democratic dispensation. How would churches contribute to all of that? Churches play a positive role. Would they help promote a sense of civic responsibility? Would they promote political participation and support for democratic institutions? And so, that my research interests really kind of were born of that experience, my initial experience in Kenya back when I was a seminarian, when so much was going on in Kenya at the time.
So let's take you to this point. You still have a very youthful look, and now you have recently, in the last year, been appointed by the provincial of the Holy Cross, the North American province, the provincial. Father Bill Lees appointed you as religious superior for the priests and brothers at Notre Dame. That's an immense responsibility, and I'm sure it's never an easy task to serve as a superior of your peers and brothers. But tell us a little bit about how big is the scope? How many priests and brothers would there be at Notre Dame at this point? And what do your responsibilities include above and beyond everything else that you're doing at Notre Dame?
Yeah, we have a great community here, Lou, great Holy Cross community. And it's a real honor to be serving them as the superior, the local superior. And there are about 65 Holy Cross priests, and mostly priests and a few brothers who serve here at Notre Dame in one way or another. And it's a multi-generational community, as you might expect. Our oldest member is 88 years old, and our youngest member is 30. So we have a multi-generational community. And of course, our community includes Holy Cross religious who are serving as rectors in the residence halls. That's such an important role here at Notre Dame, given what we try to do with residentiality here and building a sense of community. The rectors play an incredibly important role. So we have several of our Holy Cross religious who are serving as rectors. We also have religious serving on the faculty and in various departments, not just sometimes people think that priests only teach theology. Well, that's not the case. Of course, I'm a political scientist, and we have Holy Cross religious across a variety of departments here at Notre Dame, serving as faculty members. And then, of course, some of us serving in administration. And then in pastoral work, of course, campus ministry. So we have, it's a very multi-generational and multi-dimensional community. And I see it as my role as the religious superior of the Holy Cross community here at Notre Dame to make sure that our community members, our priests and brothers, have everything they need to serve the mission of the university in the most effective way possible. And so that's my role. That's how I sum it up in a nutshell.
So you reside. I mean, not everybody resides at Corby Hall, but no. Corby Hall, which was a little over 100 years old, was just taken to the ground and through a gift of Jay and Mary Flaherty and their family, rebuilt, and which looks very much like the old building, but is much more beautiful now and capacious inside. Can you tell us a little bit about what does that reconstructed Corby Hall mean for the Holy Cross community here at Notre Dame? It's not just about residences. It's about Corby Hall is much more central to the life of the Holy Cross community than just that. Can you share some insights into that?
Yeah, truly. I mean, Lou, it's obviously it's our home base on campus, even though many of us live in residence halls. I myself live in Kavanaugh Hall. I'm in residence in Kavanaugh Hall. But Corby Hall is actually houses 24 of our priests and a couple of our brothers. And so Corby Hall is residence for them, but it's our community base for the entire community. We come together there to pray and to eat, for meals, for prayer, and really it's an important place for hospitality for us, to extend hospitality for us. I think that it's such a beautiful building, built in many ways for hospitality. So we've been hosting faculty and staff, alumni, trustees, friends of Notre Dame over the last few months. And we look forward to doing more of that moving into the future. We really take seriously, I think, our call to hospitality. And I think we can only justify such a beautiful building if we are opening it up to the rest of the university community and being as hospitable as we possibly can. We're so grateful to Jay and Mary Flaherty and for their incredible generosity that's enabled us to build such a beautiful home and hospitality center. And so I think it's going to serve us for at least 100 years. And and so I'm really grateful for such a beautiful home and home base for the Holy Cross community at Notre Dame.
And especially come in handy since everybody during this COVID period has been here on campus and not traveling. And it's been a great way to strengthen the community, the brotherhood of the Holy Cross community here on campus, which is terrific. So tell us a little bit about this appointment as Vice President and Associate Provost for Interdisciplinary Initiatives. Is this a new role at Notre Dame? Had this been around before? And why was it created?
Yeah, Lou, Mari Lynn Miranda, our provost, she reached out to me in the middle of the summer, and she began talking with me about the possibility of creating this new position in the office of the provost. And so it is a new position that is the Vice President and Associate Provost for Interdisciplinary Initiatives. And essentially my role is to catalyze and support work across the disciplines by our faculty members, as well as educational programming for our students that cuts across the disciplines. I think we live in a world that is increasingly complex. There's always been complexity. It's nothing new, but I think it seems like there's more and more complexity. Many of the most important challenges we face are multidimensional in nature. Think about sustainability, think about environmental issues, climate change. We think about poverty and inequality. I mentioned that before, and migration. We talked about that. I think these are just examples of some very multidimensional, complex issues that I think require an interdisciplinary perspective. We need to be working together across the disciplines. All too often, universities, and Notre Dame is not an exception to this, have been very siloed in terms of the disciplines, people working within disciplines, but not so much across disciplines. And yet we need to be doing more of that. We need political scientists and economists working together with the scientists and the engineers on issues of importance. And so, it's my role to do everything that I possibly can to get people working together. And the great news is that our faculty members and our students, for that matter, are really interested in working together across the disciplines. And I think we just need to do our best to create vehicles that make it easier, and incentives and rewards that really make it easier for our faculty members to work together across the disciplines, to do research that is path-breaking and that helps us to address some of the major challenges in our society.
Yeah, I think this is a hugely important new role, leadership role in the provost's office, because everybody is looking to the universities to break from their silos and to engage more in these high-impact interdisciplinary initiatives that are going to make a difference in the world for people across the board. So you've got so many, as we announced at the outset, so many institutes and centers that report to you. Is there maybe an example or an anecdote that you could share from one that captures that interdisciplinarity and impact that you're looking to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's hard for me to single out any one unit. They're all great and they all have great leaders. You mentioned all the institutes and centers that I'm working with, and it's just a real honor to be working with them all. I'll just mention a few examples, and that we have a new museum that is coming up currently, the Racklin Murphy Museum. And that is incredibly exciting, right? We're incredibly grateful to be having this brand new museum that will sort of begin to really fill out what we're calling the arts gateway to campus. Sometimes people use the term arts district, or arts corridor. Lately, we've been using this term arts gateway at the entrance to our campus that connects the campus and the community, but also the campus and the world with regard to the arts. And that's a really exciting development. And then the Lucy family for Data and Society, I'm really excited about the way that institute is really bringing people together across the disciplines, taking either existing data or collecting new data that really helps us to deepen our understanding of challenges we face in the world and hopefully helps us to address them more effectively. So those are just two examples, but I hate to single out those. I mean, every one of the units, this is just such an exciting time here at Notre Dame. Across all of those units, I think we're on the cusp of a really fruitful time at the university for research and for educational programming that makes a difference in the world.
Okay, I got to ask the question, Father Bob. How do you do it all? I mean, you're teaching a course. You are superior, religious superior for the priests and brothers here on campus. You have a huge administrative role as vice president and associate provost, and you're a priest living in a residence hall, and you are still celebrating the Eucharist, but you're also celebrating masses, and you're burying people and administering the sacraments. Do you feel at all like you've got too much going on at times? How do you manage it all?
Oh, well, thanks for asking that, Lou. No, I mean, I'd just say so far so good. I have a lot of great people. I work with a lot of great people who are incredibly supportive. So I get a lot of support, and that's really important. Whether it's in the provost office or at Corby Hall in the Holy Cross community, I just get a lot of support. They're just working with great people, and then the leaders I mentioned, the leaders of all the institutes and centers and units here at Notre Dame with whom I work. They're just fabulous. So when you're working with really great people and you're really pulling together as a team, it makes it easy. It makes it possible anyway. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that prayer is really important. I think that, taking time out to pray and to take time out for God and to gain some sort of perspective is really helpful, because sometimes you realize, hey, this challenge that we're facing, this challenge is really, it's an important challenge. It's a big one, but, it's going to be okay. One way or another, we're going to get through a difficult time, or we're going to get through it. And so I think prayer is absolutely positively central to being able to juggle it all. And that, I think yourself, you're not sitting around twiddling your thumbs. I know that you're incredibly busy, and I think that, and many people watching this right now are just really busy people. So I don't know that I'm any busier than anyone else. I will say that, the support of great people pulling together as a team, and then making time for God, and just making time to pray and to gain some sort of perspective and some inspiration and strength is really important.
Okay, I've got to ask you the question, pressing on my mind anyways, is what's the difference living in a men's residence hall, which you've done for much of your life, and now living in residence in a women's residence hall, Kavanaugh? how different is the culture? How different is the environment?
Well, I lived in St. Edward's Hall for 12 years before our superior at the time asked me if I would move over to Kavanaugh. And I would say right away, I noticed that it smelled a lot better in Kavanaugh, a lot nicer. It was a lot quieter and just downright more civilized. Let me just say that right now. But no, I love living in men's halls, and I love living in women's halls. I mean, I've loved living in Kavanaugh. It's really been a blessing. Yeah, I would say that I kind of hit upon perhaps the main differences. But it's been a real blessing in Kavanaugh. I think I've been in Kavanaugh now about almost 7 years.
Wow.
And it's hard for me to believe that. And then 12 years in St. Ed's. And then before that, I was, when I first came back from graduate school, I moved into Dillon Hall. I was there for about a year and a half before being asked to move to St. Ed's.
Okay. So do you still find that students will, male or female, just kind of come by and knock on the door and want to talk to you about things going on in their lives and kind of, sometimes bounce off some weighty matters?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, students do come knocking. And I would say that one difference between a women's hall and a men's hall is I do think that women tend to be like a little more, little quicker to seek out a conversation. And I think men, I don't want to generalize too much because there's, there are individual differences, but I'd say that men are a little slower to do that. They tend to let things, they tend to ruminate over things.
Yeah.
And I speak to some extent based on the way I handle things sometimes. We tend to ruminate with things for a while and maybe are slower to seek out support or ask to talk to somebody about something that's going on in our lives. Women are just a little more, to their credit, I think, are a little more ready to kind of begin to talk about these issues. And so I've noticed, since moving to Kavanaugh that, right away, the first year that, that students came, knocking, Kavanaugh residents came knocking at my door to talk about issues going on, what was going on at school, what things that were going on at home, faith and their prayer life or their studies. So that's another difference that I've noticed.
Yeah. What a blessing. It's one of the unique gifts, I think, of a Notre Dame education is they have the presence of priests and women religious and lay leaders in the dorms who are accessible to students, at their beck and call. So in addition to everything else, you also serve as a fellow of the university and a member of the board of trustees. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between those two bodies and the roles that you play in them? Sure.
Well, it's a real honor to be, on the board of trustees and a fellow of the university, first of all. And I see it as an extremely important responsibility, and I don't take it lightly. And it's a real honor to serve with such wonderful people as trustees who serve as trustees of the university and fellows. The trustees is a larger body, and we discuss all kinds of issues of importance to the university and work to provide guidance to the university's leadership as requested, as needed, right? And so really doing our best to support the university. And it's a group of people who really love Notre Dame and really want to make sure that Notre Dame is fulfilling its mission. And speaking of mission, the Board of Fellows, which is made up of 12 individuals, 6 Holy Cross priests and 6 lay people. The Board of Fellows in a special way has responsibility for the Catholic identity and mission of the university. And so that body is incredibly important. And it's a real honor to serve with such wonderful people who are so devoted to Notre Dame and also devoted to Notre Dame making a positive difference in the world. So
how are we doing on Catholic character? Since you're in a member of the 12 fellows who are all also members of the board of trustees. You're the watchdog. So you're as fellows, you're to be the ones who are holding our feet to the fire in terms of Catholic character. How would you assess how we're doing on that front?
No, I think we're doing very well. I mean, I do think that there's always, Notre Dame is a work in progress, and it always has been a work in progress. And I think that's important to recognize. It's not like we ever arrive. And we might really wish we could just arrive. There may be part of us that really wants us to just simply arrive. But Notre Dame is a work in progress, so we could always do better. And I think that that's something that we're always asking ourselves: how can we do better? How can we fulfill our Catholic mission identity today? Because circumstances change, times change, and with them, we have to kind of consider the way how we are living out our mission, how we are fulfilling our Catholic mission identity. So I think we could always do better. And speaking of that, I was on recently at the Trustees Task Force for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which is a great task force made of great people appointed by Jack Brennan, the chair of our board of trustees, as well as Father John. And so what we, that experience was really enlightening and in many ways, and we heard people talk a bit about the challenges that they face, especially those from underrepresented groups and their experiences. We met with alumni, students, faculty, staff, just a wide array of members of the university community. Some who are of the just say the racial majority, if you will, and those who are from minority groups. In a special way, we wanted to make sure we were listening to them and to hear about their experiences. And that's just one area where I think that as much progress as we have made at the university with regard to diversity, equity, and inclusion, we can do better, and we really must do better. And we can do this in total accordance with our Catholic identity and mission. In fact, Notre Dame, we will become more deeply, truly Catholic university if we can really address some of these diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. I think we can be inclusive and really reflect the rich diversity of the Catholic Church in the United States and beyond. And so I'm excited about the future. And that's just one example of how I think that we're always looking for ways of living out our Catholic identity and mission more effectively. And so I'm looking forward to continuing to work on issues like that, as well as other issues. It's an exciting time.
Beautiful. One final question, Father Bob. What excites you most about the future of Notre Dame?
Yeah, well, I think that we are poised here at Notre Dame. We are poised to make a really even a greater difference in the world than we've made in the past. I think that we have a truly global Catholic research university, and I think the future is bright. When there's something that we're in the midst of here at Notre Dame right now, the Moment to See, Courage to Act initiative, where the provost, Mary-Lynn Miranda, has invited faculty members to submit proposals for big ideas for Notre Dame into the future. Like, what could we be focusing on? What are we really poised to do in a very big way that would make a difference in the world and help us to address important challenges? And we're going to have a symposium on Friday, just a couple of days from now. And we're going to hear from faculty members. More than 100 proposals have come in from our faculty. So there are some really interesting, beautiful ideas for ways Notre Dame could more effectively realize its mission. And so I'm really excited about the future. I'm excited also about our student body. And we just have amazing students here at Notre Dame. That's always been the case. It continues to be the case. And I think that I look forward to working with others to promote educational opportunities that really help them to make the most of their gifts and serve the wider society and the church. So it's an exciting time at Notre Dame. I'm really excited about how campus is evolving here, and I'm really excited about what our faculty members and students will be doing moving into the future.
Well, we're really grateful for your leadership, which comes to Notre Dame and Holy Cross in many and varied ways. And you've been a blessing to this place, and I think the best is yet to come. We always close our gatherings, Father Bob, with a prayer to Our Lady. And today I'd like to ask for a little twist on that. All the years that you've spent in Africa, maybe if you would lead us in a Hail Mary, first in Swahili and then one in English.
Okay, thank you, Lou. My Swahili's a little rusty, but
okay.
Here it goes. Salam Maria, umejaa neema, Bwana yu nawe, umebarikiwa kuliko wanawake wote, na Yesu mzao wa tumbo lako amebarikiwa. Maria mtakatifu, mama wa Mungu, utuombee sisi wakosefu, sasa na saa ya kufa kwetu. Amina. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you again so much, Father Bob. It was great being with you. Thank you to all of our listeners for taking the time to be with us. We're going to come back to you next on Tuesday, November 23rd, the week of Thanksgiving at 8 p.m. So mark this down, 8 p.m., Tuesday, November 23rd. We're going to have a live Thanksgiving message and blessing from our president, Father John I. Jenkins. Again, to all of you, from Father Bob, myself, and all of us at Notre Dame, take care, God bless, and go Irish.
Thank you.